girl by the name of Noel discovers her magical talent, one unusual winter in Mount Holly. The movie begins with the narrator who's explaining the situation in Mount Holly. 2 weeks before Christmas, everything had closed down. From the restaurants to the shops, everything was out of business. The weather had been warm, which is unusual for a ski town. It hadn't snowed in a long time, and that made people sad, as there were no tourists, and for that, they weren't glad. One woman dared to do the unthinkable. Noel had decided to open an art gallery, even though everything had closed down. Her friends and family were by her side, but that wasn't the only support she would get, as Saint Nick would give her a paintbrush that will change her life. We see Noel and her friend Daphne finishing the gallery, as the grand opening was about to be that night. Daphne claims she will always be there by her side, and she wouldn't miss the grand opening for the world. Noel has her doubts, and Daphne notices. She thinks she's not good enough, and Daphne reminds her of who she is. Noel had graduated first in her class at the art conservatory, and not to mention her talent for painting. Daphne hugs her best friend before she goes to work, which is working in a dog salon. Noel goes in the back to prepare the cookies and hot chocolate for the opening, when she hears a man walk into the store. She goes to the front and sees a man. She tells him that the store is closed, but invites him to the opening later on. He says he can't make it later because he has to go home and take care of his sick wife. Noel feels bad, so she tells the man to stay. And while he looks around, she prepares him some cookies to bring home to his wife. She gets the cookies and goes to give them to the man, but can't seem to find him in the store. She goes outside and sees no one. She goes to the back and sees a young man with a trash bag in his hand. She asks him whether he's seen an old man, and he says that he was the only one outside. She describes the man as a little chubby and has white hair and a beard. The guy jokes and asks whether she has seen Santa, and she doesn't find the joke funny. He thought that she was joking, but says that he hasn't seen anyone leave at all. He introduces himself as Tyler, and Noel asks whether he and Joe, his grandpa and the owner of the cafe shop next door, are coming. He is surprised as he learns that she hasn't heard of what had happened to his grandpa. He had an episode of his heart problem because of the lack of business, so his doctor suggested he rest for a while. Noel gets scared as she is about to open her business, so hearing that work has been bad for the town lately makes her freak out. Tyler says that the biggest reason for the lack of business is the fact that it hasn't snowed at all. He says that he is Joe's nephew, so being a part of the family, he has come to help and work as a manager in the cafe for a while. Noel invites him to the opening and promises to introduce him to some people, as he is new to the town. She hands him the cookies and tells him to give them to Joe. She gets back to the gallery and sees that someone has left a paintbrush at the counter. She asks whether someone's around, and she hears nothing back. She looks at the tag and sees that the brush is from Santa. She brushes it off as she thinks that it's from her friend Daphne. Something comes to her, and she gets the inspiration to draw something with the brush. She goes to the back and starts on a painting. Many hours later, she finishes but hears a loud bang on the door. Daphne bangs on the door and tells her that she has been calling her for a while, so Noel checks her phone and sees that she has missed calls from the whole family. Daphne tells her that she has 45 minutes to get the gallery ready for the opening, so Noel runs back home. She gets home and sees her brother first, and then her mother comes running to her in panic. She starts yelling at her and says that her father had gone to the emergency room to search for her, as she hasn't been answering the phone for the whole day. Noel says that she had been caught up in the painting, and she didn't even realize what time it was. Her mother tells her that she has 10 minutes to get ready, and Noel tries to fight, but her mother rushes her to change. She gets ready, and before she heads downstairs, she calls her grandmother for some advice. She says that she is very nervous, and her grandma understands. Noel says that she is grateful that her parents and everyone is supporting her, and her grandma tells her that she is a dream catcher. She is setting a great example for her brother and sister. On the other side of the town, we see Tyler going to his uncle's house. He sees Joe sitting on the front porch and asks him what he's doing there. Joe is supposed to be in bed resting, but he had made it to the porch by himself, as he needed to get some air. Tyler tells him that he has to be careful, and he should be listening to the doctor. Joe asks about the coffee shop, and Tyler tells him that it had been great. He says that he had met Noel, and that she had invited him to the opening. Uncle Joe tells him to go, because when he comes back, he would have his aunt's famous cookies waiting for him. Tyler doesn't seem fond of that idea, because he feels like he would be betraying them. After all, the reason for his coming had been to help his aunt and uncle. Joe tells him that he will have to go out and meet some people, as Mount Holly would be his home for a couple of months. He can't be spending all of his time with them. Tyler agrees, and they head inside to prepare dinner. Noel arrives at the gallery with her family and shows them the new painting she had made with the new brush. Her brother makes fun of it, as it is just a painting of chocolate chip cookies on a plate. Her father takes him outside, as he doesn't appreciate art, and her mother says that it is a wonderful painting, and she should sell it to the coffee shop next door. The opening goes great, painting after painting, art after art. Noel seems to have it good. She can't be found in the gallery though, but her best friend finds her at the back of the store, on her own. She tells her that a man from New York wants to buy her painting. but after describing it, Noel says that she doesn't want to sell it, so Daphne pulls her inside. She meets the man and tells him that she doesn't want to sell the painting. The man begs her, as his wife would love to have that painting, because the painting is of Evergreen Mountain Ski Resort, which is a place they go to every winter. He had even proposed to his wife under the tree, in the painting, 25 years ago. Noel is touched, but says that she wouldn't know how to price it. The man ends up offering $1,000 for the small painting, and Noel and Daphne get shocked. He takes it as they're offended to have such a small offer proposed to them, so he ends up giving $3,000 for it. Noel is shocked, but Daphne steps in and says that she can round it up for the gentleman, and he listens to her. He proposes a deal to work with him. He owns a couple of hotels in New York, and he wants Noel to do some artwork for his lobbies. He says that he will leave his business card at the counter, and hopes to work with Noel. Tyler hasn't left for the opening yet, as we see him washing the dishes in the kitchen. His aunt comes to him and asks him whether he's going out. He says that he wanted to stay and help out, because she has been busy with his uncle. His aunt smiles and says that he should go to the party and not worry about them, because they will be going to bed soon. Tyler opens up and says that he thinks Noel had invited him only because she feels bad for him. His aunt disagrees and says that Noel is a nice girl, and she's his business neighbor, so he should support her. She asks him whether he regrets coming to live with them, and he says no and that he loves being there, but it's going to take him a while to get used to the small town, coming from a big city. His aunt says that his father loved coming to the town, because it's different from the city. Tyler smiles at the thought of his father, and says that he misses him. His aunt understands, but tells him that his father wouldn't want him to mourn, but he would love for him to go to the party. She packs the cookies and tells him to give them to Noel as something in return for the cookies she sent for Joe. At the art gallery, a gentleman asks for earrings for his daughter, but Daphne tells him that they have sold every piece. Noel notices the man and goes to hug him, as he is her favorite professor from the art conservatory, Professor Shaw. Noel introduces Daphne to the professor and tells him that she will have a pair done by the morning. He says that he wants something silver, sparkly, and sweet for his 16-year-old daughter, so Noel promises to have them done by 11 tomorrow morning. Noel doesn't want to charge him, but he insists, so Daphne tells him that the earrings are $50. He says that he will go to the cash register, and Noel gives Daphne a look. Daphne says that she has to raise the prices to keep her business, and Noel agrees. The opening is finished, and everyone had left, but Tyler walks into the gallery. He greets Noel, and realizes that he is a little more than late. He apologizes for missing it, but he had to take care of his uncle. Noel says that it is fine, but she stops herself after taking a look at the cookies. Tyler notices that, and asks her whether she's okay. She says that she is tired, but gets even more freaked out when Tyler says that the cookies are for her. He offers to walk her home, and she locks the door, and asks her whether Daphne had told him about cookies. Tyler is confused and says that his aunt had made the cookies, and there is no way that Daphne knows about them. Noel tells him that she has to show him something. They go to the back, and she shows him the painting of cookies. He is surprised but says that it is a coincidence, and she may have seen the plate before. Noel seems freaked out, but says that it could have been a coincidence. She closes the shop and they leave from the back. Tyler asks whether it's always quiet on Friday nights, and Noel says that it's usually busy with tourists, but there haven't been any tourists because there's no snow. Tyler says that the situation is bothering his uncle as well, and Noel asks about his well-being. He tells her that he is better but goes back to the snow again. He asks whether the resort can make it snow, and she says that it is too warm for snow. Tyler asks her why she opened the store during such a crisis, and she says that she did so because the rent is affordable, and storefronts are available. He calls her brave, but Noel says she is more on the crazy side. They arrive at Tyler's house, and Noel says that she's 5 minutes away, so he suggests walking her to the house. He says he wants to know more about the town, and she says that she can help him with that, as she is born and raised in the town. She is a true citizen of the town, starting from her name even. Her parents wanted to name their children after special days close to their birthdays. She is born on December 2nd. Her sister was born before Halloween, so her name is Jacqueline after Jack-o'-lantern. Dylan, the youngest brother, is born on May 24th, so he is named after Bob Dylan. She asks about his family, and Tyler says that his mom passed away when he was 10, so he had grown up with his father. Unfortunately, his father had passed away 2 years ago, so when Tyler heard what had happened to his uncle, he quit his job and came to help them. He reveals that it's just him, because he has no siblings. They get to Noel's house, and Tyler asks her whether she wants to go out with him the next day. She says that she has to go to the Mount Molly High School championship, because her brother is playing right wing. He asks whether they can see each other after the game, and she plays hard to get, as she says that may happen, while going inside her house. Another painting is finished by Noel the next morning, as she waits for the professor to collect his earrings. The professor walks in and spots the painting of cookies on the wall. He asks her for the price, and she says that it is not for sale yet. He suggests selling it to the bakery, and she says that she had already heard that idea. She hands him the earrings, and he says that they're beautiful. She doesn't let him leave before giving him a necklace she had made for him. The professor hugs her and leaves. Soon after, Tyler walks in with flowers in his hand. She thanks him for the flowers, and he asks her to go with him to the game. Noel isn't sure about the idea, but ends up agreeing after Noel begs her like a little kid. They go to the back before they leave, and Noel shows him the painting. It is a painting of her brother scoring at the game. The game begins, and we can see Noel and her family cheering for Dylan and his team. The game comes to a tie, and they have to have a shootout. Noel is sitting next to her sister, and opposite them, Tyler and his friend are seated. Tyler waves at Noel, and she smiles at him. His friend asks him whether she's his girlfriend, and he says not yet. His friend seems to be interested in Noel's sister, and he asks Tyler to introduce him to her after the game. He seems to be in luck, because Jacqueline asks Noel about him as well. He waves at her, and she waves back, but Noel and Tyler don't like that, as they scold them for doing such a thing, when they don't even know each other. The game ends, and Dylan scores the winning point. He does a pose after winning the game, and Tyler's look changes as he realizes that he had done the same pose as the one in the painting. His friend asks to meet Noel's sister again, and Tyler agrees. Noel agrees to take Jacqueline with her as well, and they promise to be home for dinner before they leave. The group meets outside the high school, and Tyler introduces himself to Jacqueline. She asks about his friend, and he introduces himself as Paul. Tyler can't seem to hold it in any longer, and he asks Noel how she had known about the pose, and she says that it is just a painting. They agree on going to the studio first, and leave Jacqueline and Paul to get to know each other. Noel compares the painting to the picture she took at the game, and they are identical. Tyler asks her whether she's psychic, and she says she doesn't think so, but she has predicted the future in 2 paintings at that point. She realizes that it is the brush. After all, the brush had been sent to her by Santa. She thought it is from Daphne, so she never asked about it. Tyler suggests going to her to find out, and they do so. Noel asks her whether she left her a brush as a gift the day before, and Daphne says no. Tyler says that the brush had a tag that said it was from Santa. Daphne is confused, so Noel tells her that the brush can paint the future. Her friend is even more confused, but gives them an idea that can prove if the brush can paint the future or not. She says that Noel should draw something impossible. For example, Tyler proposing. Noel agrees, and they leave the store. She calls her sister and tells her that they can't make it to the store because they have something to do at the gallery. They get to the gallery and go behind the counter. Noel sits Tyler down and prepares him for the painting. He asks her to have dinner with him later in the evening, and she says that she cannot because she has her brother's victory dinner. He asks to go for ice cream after that, and she says yes. She asks him to sit still so she can take a rough sketch. She does it quickly and tells him that it will take her an hour to paint it. Tyler leaves and says that he will go help at the coffee shop. He helps at the counter and thanks his colleague for working his shift as well. Their conversation is cut off by a worried Mrs. Halson, waking in the coffee shop. They ask her whether she's fine, and she says that she isn't. She went to put on her jewelry in the morning, but discovered that her engagement ring wasn't there. She can't remember where she took it off and assumes that it must have fallen somewhere. She retraced her steps from the day before, and she had been at the coffee shop. Tyler tells her that he had swept the floors before he closed, and he found no ring. Mrs. Halson is devastated as that ring had been the only connection to her late husband. Tyler and his coworker agree on searching for the ring in the coffee shop. They are in luck because the coworker sees the ring in the vent and calls out for Tyler because she can't reach it. He reaches down and struggles to get it out. When he does, he hands it to the old lady, but soon falls in shock, as Noel appears in front of him with the finished painting. The painting looked exactly like the image of Tyler at the exact moment. Noel gets freaked out and runs out of the coffee shop immediately. Tyler calls out for her to stop, but she doesn't. He tries going after her, but he's stopped by the old lady, hugging and thanking him. He runs to the gallery and goes to the back. He sees that Noel is freaking out, and she says that she only painted what Daphne had told her. She says that she had called Daphne, and she is on her way. Tyler thinks that Daphne had set it up with Mrs. Halson, and Noel hopes that's the truth. He says that she had gotten the exact details of the ring, and that makes Noel freak out even more. She hands him all of the painting, and tells him that he can have them. He asks her to calm down and hugs her. Daphne walks in and sees them hugging, so she asks whether he had proposed for real. He says that he had found a random person's ring, but the painting came true either way. Daphne says that it must be a coincidence, and Noel suggests they paint something. Both of them disagree as they don't have the talent or the time to do such a thing. Noel starts freaking out again, and Daphne pulls her to the other room for a talk. She tells her that she's self-sabotaging herself by acting like a crazy person. Noel repeats herself and says that she can't calm down because she's painting the future. Daphne asks her whether she's hearing herself. Painting the future is impossible. She reminds her that 2 weeks had passed from when she doubted herself, but she sold a painting for $10,000. Noel jumps in and says that it has nothing to do with her painting the future. Daphne asks her to stop being so stubborn. She has everything in front of her, and she's focusing on the stuff that doesn't even matter. She should look at her true gift, her authentic artistic ability. She should accept her new ability, but she should embrace the old ones. Noel hugs her best friend with tears in her eyes and thanks her. She goes to the back and apologizes to Tyler for freaking out on him, and even tells him that she's glad she met him. He tells her that she needs to relax and suggests taking her out for dinner. She says that she has to attend Dylan's victory dinner, but suggests meeting in a few hours for their date. Tyler agrees but asks for the paintings before he leaves, and Noel gives them to him, except the one with Dylan, because she plans on giving it to him at dinner. The family gets together to celebrate Dylan's win, and Noel says she has something for him. Dylan says that he will never forget that moment, and Noel tells him that she made sure he never does, as she hands him the painting. Everyone is impressed at how quickly Noel painted the painting, and Dylan says that it is the best gift he had ever received. Noel goes to the gallery, and Tyler comes to pick her up for the date. He asks her whether she's ready, and she says she has to show him something before they go. They go to the back and see Noel's painting. She had painted herself painting in front of the window. She says Daphne made her realize that her ability is a gift, and she should embrace it. She wants to do something for the town, because everyone had been struggling, and she has been having the most success. Noel takes the paintbrush and adds a little magic to the painting. She draws snow in the window, and it starts snowing immediately. They can't believe their eyes as they see that it is snowing outside. They run to Daphne immediately and see her already outside with one of her dogs. Noel runs quickly to her friend, but the dog gets excited and jumps on her, making her drop the paintbrush she had in her hand. A car runs over and breaks the paintbrush. A man comes out of the car, and Noel recognizes him immediately. She says that he had given her the brush, and Daphne and Tyler realize that Santa is standing in front of them. Santa tells them that it doesn't matter who he is. What matters the most is that they believe in magic. Noel says that her brush is broken, but Santa says that the magic is in her, and not the brush. She realizes that believing in the magic within herself has helped her bring back the snow. Santa leaves and wishes them Merry Christmas. The narrator comes again and says that the snow had lasted for the whole winter season. How the snow had come back is the secret only 3 people know. After some time, we see Noel in her gallery, being visited by the gentleman that owns hotels. She will be going to New York to take a look at the lobbies and come up with some painting ideas. Tyler walks in and she introduces him as her boyfriend. The gentleman's wife invites them to dinner when they come to New York, before she leaves with her husband. Things work out great in the end for Noel and Tyler as they get ready to see the fireworks and celebrate New Year's Eve together.